Do you think a team like Hibs is going to be able to win Champions League with this new format that they've released?
Well, now you're getting into the weeds here because I have heard it. Let's put it this way. Let's give them a shout out. The people who have described this to me were the Cooligans. So let's just start there where I'm pretty well not informed. But from what I hear is they took 40 teams or something, threw them all in a hat and made sure everybody plays somebody 7 games total, right? So I guess again, it was the Cooligans, so somebody was an Arsenal fan. They were talking how Arsenal had a home game against maybe it was Feyenoord, right? But they had a road game against PSV or PSG. So apparently you play 7 games. There's 4 or 5 pots or something. And then at the end, the top 8 teams then go on to a round of 8, a semi or a quarterfinal, apparently. I get see, that's the thing. I'm confused. I don't know how this works.
I'm looking at it right now, and it is massively confusing. It says 24 teams qualify, but yet it's got 36 teams listed. 1 through 8 are in a round of 16, 9 through 24. I don't understand this graphic. It just, doesn't make a lick of sense.
The best thing is that you looked confused as well. I'm trying to explain third-hand knowledge from some other podcast to you as you're reading, and you just look like the wheels are spinning.
I'm on an Athletic article. So the top 8 teams qualify. Single group of 36 teams. Okay, so it is 36 teams total. Each team will play 8 opponents, 4 times at home, 4 times away. Additional slots are located to the 2 best European nations over the previous season and a third for the 5th nation in the UEFA ranking. That sounds like a lot of gobbledygook. Top 8 teams qualify. Top teams finishing 9th through 24th will enter the playoff round for the remaining 8 knockout places. And then somehow, teams 25 through 34 will be eliminated.
So, did you just say somehow?
Yes.
Was that in the description of what will happen? Is somehow these teams will be eliminated.
Okay, so after these 8 games of the entire group of 36 teams, that's what it is. So each team is playing 8 opponents of this 36 teams. And then after all is said and done of those 8 games, that's when teams that have fallen on lower in the bracket from 25 to 34, they're eliminated. And then the top 24 move on in the tournament.
Can I ask you a very serious question right now? I think I'll put it this way. I hate it. Now, the reason I ask you this question is we have to look in the mirror. Are we old? Is that the problem? Am I an old guy and I'm I want my Champions League the way it used to be? But because let's be honest, this podcast has been very critical of Leagues Cup and Nations League, and I'm guessing this new Champions League format. So are we just old people yelling at the cloud or not? Because I feel like if it were good ideas,
it's more teams. And I don't see why you don't want more teams in there.
Because look at the World Cup. Do you really want more than 32? 32 really feels like the perfect number, does it not?
The thing is, with so many more teams, it's too many games.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't dilute it so much that there's just because eventually it loses its prestige. There's a reason why, yes, it's talent, but there's a reason why AFCON is looked at better than, say, the Gold Cup. Because the Gold Cup happens every year. Sunil Gulati would sneeze and a Gold Cup would happen. It just was so much. Who cared? It becomes not special. And now it's not everything has to be rare, but for the love of God, you can't inundate us with stuff. Look at I mean, I don't follow the Chicago Red Stars because there just isn't enough time to be and watch everything to care about. Dude, we do a podcast and we're like, well, I mean, I didn't watch the game, but like the highlights were, like there's not enough time in the day. Like
No.
you're eventually gonna run out of money to get. I don't know.
Yeah, and time. And the other thing is where these games fit into your schedule. Think about that. Where the EPL, nice in the morning, having a cup of coffee, able to watch a half, maybe even a whole game sometimes. Then get going with your day. Meanwhile, MLS at night, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock. It bogarts your night. Even after it's like, I don't know. Sometimes you might. Some people have the energy to go out to the bar, but I'm an old man.
Wait, so are you telling me you're old enough to remember the heyday of there was no soccer, so you had to get up on Saturday morning? You like Saturday morning soccer better than Saturday night out for a party soccer.
I like Saturday morning soccer so much more than I like Saturday night soccer.
Oh, you're wild, man.
It is wild. I wish sometimes that there were games at 11:30 in MLS. I feel like I would go.
I wish there were more noon games. I will say that. I wish the Fire had a couple noon games. Like, I wish there was more. Like, I feel like you could do MLS 360 longer.
Yeah.
And still get away with it. Like, if you like spread these games out more. I know they're learning that to an extent, but like, if you watch MLS 360, they cut off after the second half of the late games. You got to pick one. Like, there'll be 3 going on, and they'll cut the show off, and it's halftime on the last 3 games. So like, you're watching a Seattle Portland and a St. Louis San Jose and something else.
I thought it's supposed to be like a red zone.
It is, but they're not believing enough in the product.
Here's the one thing though that is true about red zone. In red zone, when it's down to the final 2 games, I think that or when it's down to the final game, like they kind of can't show it. So like you have to go to the channel it's on. And
that's like, but there's 1 game left, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, I don't know, man. That's just, I just feel like eventually there's not going to be the return on investment, right? The more Champions League games you have, the less you'll make at a certain point. And just, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know, because the baseball's making money hand over foot still, just by having so many games.
Yeah, but there was 14 people at Comiskey the other day.
Oh, that's what that picture looked like. It looked awful.
Part of me, like, I've never actually been to a Sox game.
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever been to a Cubs game, so
Yes.
part of me is kind of like, man, now's the time. Nobody's going to be in the stands. Tickets will be $5.
Yeah, definitely. White Sox usually has decent food.
I mean, also you got to get in before they start hitting the record of losses.
Oh man.
I mean, are you a Cubs or a White Sox
White
guy?
Sox.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
They've lost a lot of games, man.
Yeah, it's not been good for the White Sox. They need a new coach. They need a new GM. They need a new owner. They need a new team. They need a lot of stuff.
They don't need a new stadium, though. It's beautiful. Anyway. Anyway, all right. So once you start talking about White Sox baseball, I think you're done with your European, outlook or European review for the weekend. But I don't know, James. I didn't get you on record on that Declan Rice thing.
I think he got kicked.